Hey, GW, coming to you back with the Dog Soldiers review. But first of all, my last video, the Ray Liotta video, I thought of one more movie that you guys should definitely check out. And it's an older one. It stars Ray Liotta, obviously, and Halle Berry. And it's a movie called Turbulence. And it's a very cool flick. It's about Ray Liotta plays a psychopath who hijacks a 747, and Halle Berry has to pilot it. And it's just amazing. It's a top-notch, edge-of-your-seat thriller that nobody should miss. I originally caught this film a long time ago on pay-per-view. We used to get, before we had Armstrong here, we had Dish TV and Prime Star, and we used to get the pay-per-view channel 129 for free. It would be all the time. So any movie that played on there, we were able to watch for free. It was a glitch that they never fixed, but hey. So Turbulence was pretty good. Now they did make a sequel minus Ray Liotta. It was called Turbulence 2 Heavy Metal, and I never saw it, so I can't critique it, but the first one was very, very cool. And Ray Liotta, I remember playing one hell of a psychopath. So that's one you shouldn't miss. I don't even know if you could buy that, or you could probably find it streaming. And anyway, check out Turbulence. But we are going to dive in to Dog Soldiers. Now, when I first heard the hype about this movie, they said it was probably going to be the best werewolf movie you ever saw in your life. And it had a combination of Jaws, Alien, Predator, all thrown into one with a werewolf twist. Excuse me. So the tagline seemed pretty interesting. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. I have seen basically all those movies. But I gotta tell you, this thing is an awesome movie. And I say that without hesitation. It's explosive fun. It does take the elements of all those movies, chops them up, throws them in there, and it's really great. But to summarize the story, it's about a 6-person combat unit that are in the woods in England, I believe. Scottish. They're from Scotland. They're doing a routine exercise, military exercise. And basically, things go haywire. They are supposed to meet a captain, Captain Brian, I believe. Captain Ryan. And literally his team has been ripped through and gutted by what you don't know. Werewolves. So, in typical military fashion, they fight their way out, and the gunfights in here are amazing, choreographed very well. They run into, believe it or not, from a local girl. Her name's Megan. She's driving around and just happens to pick these guys up. Now, the action in this thing, once the werewolves appear, it does not stop. And in purely Night of the Living Dead fashion, they take shelter in an old house. They tend to their wounded and they have to fight. And honestly, you will not take your eyes off of this. Now, the creatures, the werewolves, are done very well. They're a combination of hybrid dog, werewolf, and humanoid. They are fast, they are vicious, and they also like to shed a lot of blood, I'll tell you that. So the attacks are pretty vicious. I mean, you see entrails spilling from guys, you see rivers of blood, decapitated heads. This is an awesome film, and I'm not just saying that because I love the movie. I'm saying that because once you get into it, it's hard not to take your eyes off of it. And it's a very fun movie to watch. The lead character of Cooper is played by Kevin Mckidd. Kevin Mckidd was on a film called Trainspotting with Ewan McGregor, so you might want to check that out. As far as the rest of the cast, I really do not know who they are. But very explosive, very fun, and it's done by the director of The Descent. Now, if you guys haven't seen that film was one of the most awesome horror films of that year. It was about a group of female cave spelunkers who run into creatures down on, in the cave, and they have to fight their way out. Very bloody, very survival instinct prone movie. This is almost the same thing. This movie starts out with a bang when 2 campers are killed, then the military exercise, and then you get into the werewolf firefight. Now, there's nothing about this movie that is boring or stupid. Now, it does have a twist at the end, which I'm not going to reveal. But Dog Soldiers is probably, and it doesn't lie. The tagline says it's probably the best werewolf movie you'll ever see, and it actually is. I would put this right next to the movie The Howling, but, each are pretty awesome in their own right. The story, like I said, is just amazing. The gunfights are coordinated good. And it's a film you can't take your eyes off of. It's a film that once you get done, you're exhausted. And I love those type of movies that when you get done watching, you're just like, holy God, glad dude got out alive, or glad somebody got out alive, or whoa, that was intense. Those are the movies that push limits for me, and I love those. There's really nothing else I can say except this thing is very much a bang. And Neil Marshall directed this, and like I said, he's done The Descent. He's done an episode of Game of Thrones. He's done a movie called Centurion. And it's amazing. Now, the other thing is, this takes conventional horror movie or werewolf movies and throws them out the window. Instead of one werewolf, you have packs of werewolves, which are equally cool. You have tension between, Cooper's character and Captain Ryan. Captain Ryan is one of those guys that knows something, doesn't want to tell anybody in the beginning, but later it's revealed, and it puts a whole new spin on it. Now, as great as this film was, I give it 5 stars. Because not only for story, but you have atmosphere. The woods are shot pretty spooky. The werewolf vision in this thing is pretty ominous. It's in black and white. And, never has a black and white, I don't want to say photograph, but never has black and white vision been so terrifying as it is in this film, and it's used to the fullest extent. The tension racks up because things are outside of this isolated, house in the woods. You don't know where they're coming from. Toward the end, it's sort of hinted on where they come from. Again, I'm not going to ruin it. And then it becomes an all-out fight for survival. Now, I would tell you this, based on what I just watched in this movie, it is shot on a low budget, but they made the absolute best of it. Probably 90% was spent on the costumes, the guns for the film, and pyrotechnics. There is a little bit of fire and explosions in here, but nothing too extravagant, but nothing too cheap either. It really brings the realism, and it kind of thinking about it after I watch it, it was like you could identify with one character, whether it's, Cooper or Lieutenant Ryan or Spoon or Joe, Chris or Wells. One of these military guys you will identify with because you will put your shoes in the same, you will put yourself in the shoes of the same guy, that you identify with. Ultimately, like I said, this film is very outstanding. Now, there was a sequel made, I believe. I don't know if it's any good. But this one, I'm telling you what, this movie here is just amazing. And what I like about it too is that it's mostly once these military guys get into this farm or this house, this cabin, cottage, whatever you want to call it, it sticks within the confines of the cottage, barely goes outside of it, but it stays claustrophobic, and I like it because it adds to the sense of dread that these characters are facing. So, Dog Soldiers, if you can check it out, definitely check it out. Get the collector's edition from Scream Factory. You will not be disappointed. Now, Neil Marshall, before doing this, made a small movie, short movie called Combat. And Combat was the sort of prototype to this movie. So it's interesting to go back to and watch it. But yeah, definitely Dog Soldiers. 5 stars across the board. I have not seen a werewolf movie that has combined so many elements of other movies. I mean, this has, like I said, Predator, Alien, Jaws, different things that were pulled from different movies. And the formula works, and it works to a T. And this is, you could call this a werewolf movie as opposed to a horror movie. You could call this an action-adventure movie with werewolves in it. You could call it a military movie with werewolves in it. Whatever you decide, the formula works, and it's probably, like I said, the second best werewolf movie I have ever seen next to the original Howling, and that is saying something. Dog Soldiers, 5 stars. GW says, rent it today. Or buy it. Yeah. Or watch it if you can. You will not be disappointed. Very awesome.